that truck doesn't know how to
Welcome
park
to
the
the
car.
Public Safety Subcommittee. Today is October 1st. We have Councilor Derby, Councilor Gomez here. We don't have any minutes to approve. Now is the time to public speak time. Now is the time to say something that is not in the agenda. If anyone here that wants to say something that's not agenda, now is the time to speak.
Yes, I have something.
Can you please say your name and
Yeah.
address, please?
My name's Eli Damon. My address is 14 Ward Avenue. And so, actually I have a couple of unrelated things to talk about. The first one is about the new Sharrows on Cottage Street. Is everyone familiar with what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. So, I want to say that, well, that they're in the wrong place and they're sending exactly the opposite message of what they're supposed to say. So, the purpose of the Sharrows, they have no regulatory meaning. There are no rules that, special rules that you're supposed to follow when you're on a Sharrow. What they're supposed to do is guide cyclists to the best position to ride in, and also to educate motorists that they should expect cyclists in that position. And the problem is that the Sharrows are not in the best position. They're actually, if you ride on the Sharrow, you will be in the door zone, where you are vulnerable to being hit by opening car doors, as well as other hazards like you have no lines of sight to side streets to see people pulling out. I can show you if anyone has a computer that they could play a video on. Does anybody?
No, I have
No, you
not.
don't?
Yeah, this is
No, okay.
iPad.
All right, well, that's okay. Yeah, but yeah. So that I think that's a problem in that it's supposed to teach people that cyclists should be are best when they're out of the door zone, but they're actually guiding cyclists into the door zone. So yeah. The second thing is that at Cultural Chaos, I always go and I do a cycling savvy table, and I've been giving out free flavored water, and this year I got a notice from the organizers that said, anything you want to do, you need a food permit. And I said, well, I didn't know what was involved. I thought maybe it's no big deal, and I went to the health department to get a food permit. They're like, okay, great, that'll be $90. I was like, well, I'm not going to pay $90 to give out free water. And that's because you're after the deadline. If it was before the deadline, it would be $35. Well, I'm not going to pay $35 to give out free water. And I mean, it's not really such a big deal for me in that particular situation, but it gives me concern that there's a lot of people who want to do a lot of little things, but they can't because the health regulations are designed for big operations and don't take small operations with very low risk into account. So, I feel like we'd have a lot more little projects involving serving food that would be able to operate and be able to, maybe many of them would even be able to grow into bigger ones if we had health regulations where the burden was proportional to the risk, instead of having just the assumption that everyone is a full food service business. And not only that, but also there are probably people who are ignoring the getting the permits because it's so unreasonably burdensome that they don't think it makes any sense. So that's my second comment.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? All right, just gonna move,
And just one quick thing, Eli, we're not responding to because it's not on our agenda.
I do understand.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think maybe we can talk after I have some ideas.
Sure.
so we're gonna move to the new businesses. That I don't know what they say, new business, we already talked about.
We already talked about
Right?
it. Yeah.
So it's continuing businesses. Let's start because, and I say thank you to the chief and the police that are being here, so that way we can start talking about the people that are related to the police department. The first one is the ordinance, the Councilor Lynch brought to us is about, how you see it. To me, it's really clear. You have to, Councilor Derby, do you take time to read it?
I did, yeah.
To do a local ordinance to, for the crosswalk, if someone, to the police, and the money will stay locally instead of going to the state.
I mean, it seems like it almost mirrors the state one.
Yeah, it is exactly like the state one, just.
It looks like the penalty's a little higher though.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, which is fine.
I'm okay with it too.
And I think Annette would be okay with that too after her near miss this morning.
6 inches away from being dead today. And that wasn't even when I was working, that was when I was walking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just look, yeah, you can mark that one up.
Yeah, because they wouldn't be doing that. If it was a fatality. So what I'm referencing is the language where the state police would investigate. It would be our police department that investigates. Unless it's a fatality, then it's the local police along with the DA's office and the medical examiner's office.
I have a quick question. When you're ready.
I have one too. Go ahead.
If someone films a vehicle not yielding to a pedestrian and their license plate is in view, is that something that can be used to go after them?
Not go after them. So what we encourage people to do in that case when there's not a police officer present, because a moving violation has to be in a police
Has to be
officer's
witnessed.
presence
Right.
by a police officer, in order for us to write either criminal or civil violations. But what we do encourage people to do is, if that is the case, report it to us.
Then you can knock.
We can go knock on the door and have a little chat.
Now, is that a mass law? Is that why we don't do speed cameras or
100%.
red light cameras?
Exactly. No, that's exactly right.
Okay.
Because the moving violations have to be in the presence of the
Interesting.
police. That being said, we've had just as recent as last week, we had one of our off-duty officers in their own vehicle driving down Glendale Street, and a car passed a police officer and 2 other cars at a high rate of speed. So in that case, we can send certified mail citation. That officer witnessed it, can write
Right.
the citation,
Interesting.
even though they weren't on duty, and charge them civilly.
It's too bad we couldn't fix that. It would make sense.
Right.
Because especially
And then
if
you
if
can
a police
record.
officer viewed the video,
Right.
then you'd be in the presence of it.
Yeah, you could mirror, I know that it's used extensively in Virginia.
Yeah.
You can mirror what Virginia does.
And all over the world, honestly.
It'd be a good Dan Carey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you just looked at it briefly. Something that we can do is move it to the next meeting, so that way you can make some change.
Were you guys prepared to vote on it tonight?
We don't have to. We can wait for the next meeting and.
Yeah, if you want more time to, I
We
don't think
need
there's a
one more
huge
time. No, it's-
rush
yeah,
necessarily.
Yeah,
super
if
rough,
you
but-
don't mind, and part of the reason is, I thought Council Lynch was also proposing a pedestrian violation for not using a crosswalk.
Oh, like a jaywalking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause I-
probably, but he didn't mention anything in this meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because my conversation with him was, it's gonna be,
Combination?
combination, yeah.
Okay.
So maybe it makes good sense to table it and I'll circle back. with
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, all right. We're gonna hold it until
Yeah,
the
that's
next
good.
meeting, and, so let's talk about the outdoor
Sure.
events policy. I mean, last time we started talking about it,
Yeah.
and basically this idea came from the police department to try to cover a few situations. And we have the police chief here today, and I appreciated that. So he can explain it to us why this is so important for the city.
So, a couple of things. The original draft that Councilor Zara did, we digested it and edited it. Both Officer Murphy and I edited it. And it just seemed that it was cumbersome for what the police were trying to
Mhm.
accomplish. As it went into definitions, descriptions, permitting. And at the end of the day, what we're looking for, or what we would be an advocate for, is kind of similar to what the Park and Rec does.
Mhm.
So I got those from Director Mason. And it's essentially, if you're having an outdoor event with alcohol, and you can define whether you want to define how many people or not, or
Mhm.
where it is, that you have to hire a police detail. It's been very, very successful at Food Truck Friday.
Mhm.
We've had instances where there wasn't a police officer there initially, and we had some problems. Not we, but the event. Now that they hire a police officer for every other
Yeah, every other
Friday, it's just a great deterrent. And that police officer is at the disposal of the event coordinator, and whatever they need, whether it be traffic for the event, or mitigating crowd control, or if something does happen.
Right.
So something, and I know the Pond and Park, both, and actually Millside Park, the director mandates that they hire a police officer if they're serving alcohol. So it really is, for me, it's really that simple. But it's just a matter of, I don't think we need to be this cumbersome trying to accomplish what the police want to accomplish.
I
If there's
agree.
permitting or other things that you guys deem necessary as far as, multiple pages of definitions, then
Mhm.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. But just from our perspective, I think it's important that, as we grow as a city and more of these events are common, wherever there's alcohol in public, we run the risk of having some issues.
Absolutely. And so when I first looked at that, I was a little, I don't know how to say it, taken aback, I guess.
Yeah.
This looks a lot better. Basically my two main questions are number one, if the applicant is required to pay for police, and I think like Mill Pond Live, they hire a police detail, right?
Yeah, and that's through this mechanism.
That's through this mechanism.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that we're not going to pass something that's so cumbersome that we're going to keep things from like Mill Pond,
Oh, I couldn't agree
which
more.
are
Right.
really like
Right.
helping the city on this path towards
Right.
becoming
You want to be
a
user-friendly,
destination.
but safe.
Yeah.
And so, I just want to make, and I think that as we go through this, making it really clear that, if they were required, or if any person that was like the polka on Friday nights or whatever, were required to hire police, fire, and emergency, that might be,
No, and Council, just so I don't know, as a point of edification, when I talked to Councilor Gomez, what I did is I extrapolated from this document the pieces that were pertinent kind of to
Right.
us. So
Mhm.
this isn't, I'm not proposing this as the ordinance.
Okay.
I'm
No,
just
no,
saying,
yeah.
these
These
are
are the
the
things that-
pieces and
These are the
parts
pieces,
that
yeah.
I think are important, and how, I agree with you, I wouldn't get in the middle of this, fire and emergency details.
Right.
I mean,
I mean, I think if we had police there,
Right, that-
and if they were doing fireworks, then maybe it would make sense to
Right,
have
exactly.
a fire and.
And that's why I think we can almost model whatever ordinance we come up with
Off of
from
this.
John's policies. Because he's got Millside Park in Pulaski, he's got Nonotuck Park in the Boardwalk, and the last one is just the park itself with the pavilions. And,
Right.
Can you see that?
Yeah,
But, yeah,
that makes
you can
sense.
have that.
Now, the next piece that I was concerned about, and you're gonna like this one, is in the original draft, it was just for public spaces, right?
Right.
But, so, let me paint you a picture.
Mhm.
Williston decides to have a grand party on their fields next to Nonotuck Park. And then Nonotuck Park wants to have a similar, like,
Event.
On one side of the street, they wouldn't be required to have anything. And on the other side of the street, they'd be required to hire, potentially multiple details. So I think in, like, equity-wise, I think that if we're looking at a large-scale event, we should not limit it to public property.
Which is, I think, why, and I agree with you. And
Yeah.
I think that's where you start getting into the like permitting
The permitting
world
piece.
a little bit.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
And
Because
that would
do you
even-
guys do it? Sorry to interrupt.
No, no.
Do you guys do a detail at, like, their graduation or any of their, like, big parties or
Yeah.
anything? You do.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And they pay you for that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. But it's but to your point though, it's basically at their leisure.
Right.
Which
They're
I-
not compelled to do it.
No, they're not.
And they probably, if they're having a large scale event, I mean, which they could at their, they might,
Oh, yeah.
if we're compelling other people to do it because it's on public property, and that was really my biggest concern, was like, how can we compel a public,
Mhm.
on public property, but then we'll have a private entity potentially next door that could do something even bigger and not be compelled.
Which I think
So-
would be, yeah, because it's not a matter of liquor licensing for sales either, because
Right.
they're having their own party.
Right.
But maybe we put some thought in some piece of permitting.
Yeah, like a large
Very
outdoor,
general.
event permit,
Yeah.
and have it not be super expensive.
Right.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Because if they're gonna have to hire details, then.
And then we'd have to look at where that permitting process.
Where it goes through. It'll probably go through you. I mean, if you felt comfortable, well, or through the police station where they'd have to pick up a form and, because I can't see it going through Barbara
No, I can see.
necessarily. Do you guys issue any permits for anything besides
I can't-
firearms?
No.
The fire
And I think we
department?
run into problems with permitting, because I don't take any cash in at all at the police station, at all.
Mm.
Right.
Um,
So we
Matter
have
of
to-
fact, Barbara does, so she does, so I have to do taxi permits,
Right. That's
the, like the church.
Storage of flammable stuff. Do you guys do
No,
that? Is that the
that's
fire?
Fire department. But I do the raffle permits, that's the other one that I do.
Mm.
But I do that permitting and the taxi cab permitting is all done through the clerk's office.
Okay. So it's a
So
form
I
they
come
pick up
over.
at the clerk's office, they pay at the clerk's office, but you sign up.
And then I come over and sign, right, exactly.
And do you think that might be something that would work?
Yeah,
for
because
the
I don't think
situation?
it's gonna be, I don't think that's
Could
gonna be
be
over.
something like
It's not gonna, there's not gonna be,
burdensome. It's not
yeah.
Right.
I mean,
It's not gonna
and-
be every day either.
and that
No,
way,
no, exactly.
that way they could put in, what their plan is, like, what their egress and, all the, things that I think are mentioned here, traffic control, I mean, those all make sense.
Right.
I mean, so I like this one a lot better.
Yes,
Yeah,
and that
yeah,
was,
yeah.
and that was,
And that's why I only took like, say,
and yes,
Yeah.
we have, after that meeting, I have a meeting with the police chief.
Yeah.
Telling all the concerns that we have as a
Yeah.
committee.
Yeah.
And that's when we end with this instead of,
Yeah, this is,
yeah,
few
after-
pages.
After Council's Goldman.
Clear and
I mentioned,
concise.
like, boil it
yes,
down.
and I brought the concern about, because the original one was worried about the sports event too.
right, all right.
You know, if we have a tournament in, or any kind of tournament, football, basketball, then with the other one required to hire a police. And I was.
Yeah, if you have a softball tournament, you probably don't need a ton of police detail.
You never
there's
know.
there's no alcohol, but yeah, right.
Yeah.
Basketball. you could-
Yeah, basketball, you never know. But yeah, we don't want to be so restrictive with that kind of event. It's going to be for childs, for kids. And that's why I have a conversation with the police chief to try to condense
Yeah, it makes a lot more
the
sense.
draft
And-
to this one. And of course, this is not the last version.
No.
I just brought it to the committee. That way we can look at it again. And if we have to make some changes again, we should.
Yeah, I think it's good. You know, I think one thing as we get closer, it might make sense for us to have maybe kind of a statement from you saying, you know, here are some of the events that we've had. Here are a couple of problems we've run into. This is demonstrating a need for this type of ordinance that, you know, because that way it's easier to kind of like, if we can demonstrate a need, it makes a lot more. It's easier to sell.
Absolutely.
You know, so.
Something do you want to add? No?
No, sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm just
I
the editor.
Yeah, all right, I just want to move it to the next meeting too.
Yeah, let's move.
So
Yeah,
that
well, that way we can take a look at this.
And make
do
the
we have,
changes that we have to
do we have
change.
any electric comp at
Yes, I do. I
Can
will
you
send it
forward
to you.
it?
Yeah,
Awesome.
I will send it to you too, man. Let me
Thank you.
just put it in my notes.
And I'll forward you both John's electric.
Yes,
John's
please.
copy of-
Oh, that would
Yes,
be great.
please.
That would be really good. Yeah, because we can merge those, create like a really simple permitting process.
And that's what the director of the Park and Rec did.
Yep.
The quadricycle, we are not talking about until
No.
we table that. The pedestrian safety review, I just wanna, set that we didn't receive any answer from DPW yet. I went to the meeting and, so one of the members gave me this, and, that was the info that he got from other places.
Oh,
Basically, I mean, and I get it because I went there. He got it for, because probably he was
This is
expecting
about-
one
yeah.
of us to be at that meeting. But formally, I didn't receive anything yet from DPW.
Okay.
I just want to put that in record. We sent a letter to DPW. We didn't receive any answer yet.
The removable speed bumps are interesting.
That would take the DPW time argument out.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Pull them up before it snows.
Beside that, this you want to add something?
No, I don't think so.
For the
Can I
chief?
ask a question?
Yes.
The on-street parking and the traffic rules and orders.
We table that.
Oh, okay.
Until because the city
Traffic
is
study?
doing,
Oh, gotcha.
yes, the city is doing a study about it.
Right.
And that's what we table it until the city can provide us some information.
Gotcha.
And then we're gonna discuss about it.
Okay.
But if you can say something if you want.
No, I was just curious as to where that was at.
Yes, because, the city is doing a study with the downtown planning, yes,
Yeah.
and one of the things they're talking about is parking.
Right.
And we want to wait until
Yeah, makes
we got the
sense.
report.
Sure.
And after the report, so we're gonna bring it back so that way we can make a decision.
Okay.
Well, and I would say if we look at pedestrian safety review, one of the things that's going to be coming to us is the South Street situation. And I think that the pedestrian safety review falls right into the South Street situation. Even though we haven't had any pedestrian issues there, it is a rough pedestrian crossing there.
Yeah.
So if we can look at, lights or whatever as that kind of comes forward.
And I would advocate again, and I know I said it on the record before, in the short term, is a pedestrian sign in the middle of the crosswalk.
Right. Because it is, I see kids crossing there to go to White Brook.
There's one there, and there's one on Hoyle Street that should have a sign too.
Mhm.
But the same, even that to some degree will slow some traffic down, at least in the interim.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of those signs.
Yeah. Maybe when we do hear from the DPW, we can ask for maybe a South Street sign.
That's yeah.
Those crosswalks, you don't even know they're there.
Right.
Yeah, it's a
That's the
crosswalk there.
biggest issue.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it is.
And people are just flying, and they're also going around cars.
And I was planning to do a committee letter again.
Yeah.
To send it to Dan Carey, the Huminson, to see if they take action in that particular intersection, because I think
Right.
it's time to do something there.
Absolutely.
No, and I've talked to both. of
And
them
thank you
about
for
it,
the
so they're,
report.
Yeah, that was good.
So, and you guys got the reporting of the accidents?
Yes,
and
yes.
the reporting from Mass DOT from 2017.
Yes, I appreciate that. So we're gonna, to that letter, we're going to add that information so that we can send it with like a package to them, so that way
That'd be good.
we should make
History
a decision soon.
Yeah, it sure is. We thought, I was hoping and praying that new curbing was gonna
Right,
fix
right.
a
Yeah.
lot, but
So do
people
you
still
wanna
look
add-
like idiots there. Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Alright.